Some NFL teams look like Super Bowl contenders a month ago, but now they're barely hanging on. The Ravens suddenly can't finish games, the Lions' offense has been inconsistent as hell, and even teams like Broncos and Patriots, who have been rolling, might not be as unstoppable as their records say. Over the next few minutes, we are breaking down which teams are starting to collapse, who's been fooling us this whole time, and the few teams that are actually built to make a deep playoff run. Because right now, a lot of these so-called contenders, they might be closer to falling apart than anyone wants to admit.
There are a couple of teams that are collapsing down the stretch to the point where we believe they're going to be missing the playoffs. And the first team is the Baltimore Ravens, who are 6-7 after a big loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, now behind them in the division standings.
Not just one big loss, big two losses, because the week before they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals in embarrassing fashion almost. This Ravens team has been very disappointing throughout the year. Even under a win streak, we weren't convinced that these guys were going to do something. And the big part of that is the way that Lamar Jackson is playing. And the way he is playing is pretty pathetic. As that's the best way to put it. And I know he's hurt, he's missed time and all that stuff. But overall, this is not the Lamar Jackson we have seen. He went, I believe, 4 games without a touchdown up until the Steelers game where he finally got a rushing touchdown, I believe. But overall, he hasn't been good. And honestly, that's the biggest reason why at this moment why they have lost the last 2 games. Although there was some controversy, because in my opinion, that's a touchdown from Isaiah Likely. But overall, the quarterback play has not been good. And obviously, the quarterback's the most important position.
The defense also has been up and down for the most part as well. But obviously, this is a contender-pretender video episode we're going to be having here. Do I ultimately believe this team will ultimately get in? I still think they have listen, they're not like the Chiefs who are fighting their way because Chiefs are out of division contention. These guys are the only way they're going to get in, or the Steelers are going to get in, is whoever wins the division. And I believe they'll find a way to get that done. But ultimately, with that being said, are they going to be a pretender or a contender if they're in? The way they've played, they haven't shown a history in the past in the playoffs as well. They're going to be one of the biggest pretender teams as well. But like you said, down the stretch, they're collapsing. We thought this team was going to go on a hot streak after that big win against the Bears with Tyler Huntley playing quarterback.
They technically did.
Yeah, they did. But now they're faltering down the stretch again because they had a chance to put the Steelers kind of away as well. And listen, we literally dropped an episode about the Steelers and how stuff might be changing there. And boom, off the bat, in true, I guess, BT Blitz fashion, the reverse usually happens for the first 1 or 2 weeks of that. And that's what the Steelers provided. The Steelers it wasn't even a convincing win for them as well. So that's the reason why I'm still holding hope for the way.
I want to say it wasn't convincing. At the end of the day, you're playing a tough division opponent. It's never going to be convincing. There are a lot of positives to take away from the Steelers. The offense returned to form.
But the
defense got a pivotal stop when they needed it with sacking Lamar Jackson. You got to give credit to the Steelers.
I'm giving them credit, but the reason why I'm not saying it's at the end of the day, it's not convincing in a sense that it's not going to be next week. We're going to be like, oh, the Steelers suck again.
Yeah, you could say inconsistent, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, it was a convincing win the way they performed. I'm not saying you could say it might not translate to next week, but you cannot say it wasn't convincing. They beat a division opponent. They beat one of the main rivals who has been running the division the last few years, and they have done it with putting up points and their defense making the clutch stop.
That's fine. At the end of the day, I'll bank on I'll take the underdog bet that the Ravens will find a way to get this division under wraps. But that being said, ultimately, they will be a pretender when it comes to playoff time.
Let's move on to another team that we've saw honestly collapse before our eyes, and that is what happened on Sunday Night Football. And it's not every day, or not any day, in my opinion, where you go and react to a Kansas City Chiefs game and say that Andy Reid made a very bad decision.
I do not understand that 4th and 1 call at that moment, knowing that defense is elite. I understand you trust Patrick Mahomes. He's been there, done that a lot of times. But that whole game, there were drops by receivers. They couldn't convert certain plays. And at that moment of the game, why wouldn't you trust your defense, who was playing well as well? And it's not like Houston's offense is coming around, don't get me wrong, but Chris Jones made plays to blow up stuff, and they were getting the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. So I don't know why you took the risk there. It's not like the other team has the Texans have a bad kicker. They have a really good kicker in Kyami Fairbairn if it really went to field goal status overall. But ultimately, like that, the 4th and 4, you kind of had to a little bit more at that point because you went for the 4th and 1. But that 4th and 1, like I understand is 1 yard, but against that Texans defense, that 1 yard can feel long because if you don't execute it properly.
It's not who you're going against because obviously they're going to Texans defense, and at one point you're gonna have to convert a 4th down, which obviously eventually they didn't because the Texans won. The biggest issue I have with it personally is that CJ Stroud was struggling, and in terms of the offense was struggling just because there was so much pressure on him, and CJ couldn't move the ball. CJ was getting absolutely was running for his life, and obviously a big part of that was with Chris Jones being so dominant. They gave him a lifeline. Basically, they allowed CJ Stroud to get back into his game and was able to just do enough down the stretch to win the football game. They had CJ wrapped up, and Andy Reid gave him a lifeline. That's the biggest issue for me because your defense was playing really good. Your offense, obviously not because you only scored 10 points. But in that situation, the issue you gotta lean on what's working. And in that game, the offense wasn't working, the defense was. So that's why, and especially you're in your own territory as well. You gave CJ Stroud a lifeline to come back into the game, and obviously he did that by punishing you by leading a touchdown drive. So that was the biggest issue I had because he didn't lean on what was working. Like obviously in years past, you would obviously lean on this offense, the Kansas City Chiefs. It wasn't even a great play call. Like you would expect something creative if he was setting up something in his own zone, but right now the defense has been better than the offense, and that's where
kind of have been for the last couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm a bit annoyed with that call, and obviously we're a little bit more annoyed because we needed the Houston Texans to lose, and obviously they didn't, which means the Texans have the 7th spot in the 7th spot in the last wildcard spot in the AFC.
Other bad thing for the Chiefs in this case is the Chargers got a big win on Monday Night Football, which means their next week's game is pretty much lose. They're probably eliminated because the max they could get is 10 wins. And if the Chargers pull out a win, that's 10 wins for them, which means you're already out for division contention. You're already losing tiebreakers to the Chargers. The reason why this Texans loss is even bigger, you lose a tiebreaker on the Texans, assuming they do not get the division as well. You already have the tiebreaker, don't have the tiebreaker on the Jags. You don't have the tiebreaker on the Bills. The only team you have a tiebreaker on, which sucks, is the Indianapolis Colts from that time.
And the good news for Kansas City...
The reason why it sucks is because we're fans. That's the only reason why I'm saying that.
And the good news for Kansas City fans and Kansas City in general, because they could genuinely afford a loss, because the main reason we added this collapsing portion is because of the Indianapolis Colts. The once one-seeded Indianapolis Colts at 7-1 went all in. Traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, and ever since then, it's just been a massive collapse. Daniel Jones' turnovers came back in. Sauce Gardner ended up getting injured. DeForest Buckner was already injured before Sauce even came. And to make things all worse, the Jacksonville curse for Indianapolis took a major turn on Sunday because Daniel Jones is out for the season with a torn right Achilles. And to make things worse, the backup quarterback is already out in Anthony Richardson. And to make things even worse, the third string is now out week to week. So we have no idea who our quarterback is going to be next week against Seattle. And it's genuinely, honestly, I think a lot of people are believing it, and we are believing it too, that the Indianapolis Colts might not win a football game again this season.
They have the hardest schedule to go down the stretch. Listen, Indianapolis Colts, the good news for them is they're still 8-5, and they're within reach because they handled business when it mattered most at the beginning of the year. Yes, should they have handled business against the Kansas City Chiefs? 1,000,000%. They had the lead on that one. That's on them. But the beginning stretch, similar to the Seattle Seahawks, they've demolished opponents when they were healthy for the most part of the year. Now, listen, I'm still not against the Sauce trade because at the moment, it made a lot of sense. You're going all in. Team's looking good. You cannot predict a torn Achilles injury. You cannot predict what happened with Anthony Richardson's eye. Even with Daniel Jones coming back down to earth a little bit of that, you could say his mobility was a little shot because he's playing with a hairline fractured fibula, right? And
he shouldn't have been on the football field, basically.
But unfortunately, the team needs to they don't have another quarterback at that time to lead them to wins, so they ran with it. Shane Steichen, I don't know what his play calling was for the last month of the year, season so far. going away from Jonathan Taylor, whatever the case might be, that hasn't been working. The injuries, just in general, at all three phases, have been big. And of course, the O-line regressing a little bit, which was my concern at the beginning of the year. That, like, okay, these guys should be good, but I don't think they're going to be as elite as many people thought. Now it's slightly coming back down to earth. I don't know. And of course, the luck with the officiating has been atrocious.
Officiating the last 3 weeks
for the last 3 weeks.
bad.
And I'm not saying this as a bitter Colts fan, but I'm just saying that, listen, look, go over, talk to JJ Watt. He's a Texans legend. And in the Texans game, he said himself on the broadcast, like how brutal some of these calls were as well. But going back to this Colts team, listen, yes, they're obviously the ultimate pretenders. They have no chance of winning a playoff game if they get into it. The collapse level, do I think they're going to miss ultimately? The way it's rolling and the way how hot the Texans and the Jags have been in the division?
Well, the answer is yes.
So the answer is...
We have literal no quarterback right now.
Exactly. To the point where Uncle Phil Rivers, is having a tryout to see how will he fare in this offense. Listen, the good news with that is he's been around Indianapolis. He's been with Shane Steichen for a couple of years during the San Diego/LA Charger days. So we know he knows the offense. But again, at the end of the day, a 44-year-old quarterback who's on the verge of almost getting a ballot for the Hall of Fame coming in is now going to reset if he ends up playing. As of this recording, it's a Monday night, so we don't know what's the status. By the time this comes out, we don't know what the status of Phil Rivers is going to be. If not, the Colts, if Riley Leonard is out, has to rely on Brett Rippon for the most part, and whoever else they might have to pick up on someone else's practice squad to be the quarterback 2 or whatever the case might be.
Long story short, we're cooked. It's just simple as that. It's just simple as that. But let's move. Stay tuned to the end of the video because we'll be talking about who we think are the legit teams in the NFL so far into this season. But let's move on to the pretenders. So these are teams that are already in a playoff spot that we think might not do anything in the playoffs or potentially might even fall out. And I'm going to give you my first one, and it's a big one. The Philadelphia Eagles.
You're putting them in pretender status.
I'm putting in a pretender status off the bat. That's my... I'm starting with a big one. What I am seeing with the Philadelphia Eagles has been absolutely terrible. Is it a 3-game losing streak now for them?
Yep.
Cowboys, Bears, and now the LA Chargers.
Cowboys are within reach. So if you talk about collapse, you could put the Eagles on that.
You could potentially put Eagles on collapse watch. Yeah, for sure. Cowboys are, I believe, a game and a half back now, and they play each other once. So there is a chance that, and I think the Eagles play the Lions still, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that the Cowboys can overtake. And a must-win situation for the Philadelphia Eagles. They come up short. Jalen Hurts, I believe, had 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. 2 on 1 play, which was pretty funny because he threw a pick.
I need to see that play. Because
he
I
threw
played
a pick.
that
Essentially, long story short, he threw a pick. The guy who got the pick fumbled. Jalen Hurts picked up the ball. He fumbled, which I feel bad for whoever has him on fantasy for that play because it was -4 points depending on how your score breakdown is overall. Here's the thing I'm going to say about the Eagles, and I'm going to throw the Chiefs in there. Let's just say hypothetically the Chiefs do make it. Are you still giving them pretender status, or are they going to be contenders?
Not for the Chiefs, just because they're the Chiefs.
So here's the Eagles. Like, you started hard. I thought you were going to go easy like the Steelers or someone. We'll do the rapid fire ones in a second.
I went all in. I'm going to start off all in here.
Listen, defense makes them contenders. They have a contender level defense, and I'm going to be saying that a lot for a lot of these teams. Their offensive coordinator and their offense is horrendous. It's absolutely terrible to the point where I'm like, where do I lean with this? Because now they're faltering down the stretch. What happened 2 years ago? They started faltering down the stretch. And during that pod, I said, even though they were undefeated, I put them 5th on rankings because the play was showing me something else than the record was showing. Right?
And the play is
and usually, you hear the saying, your record says what you are. I forgot how it works. You are what your record says you are. In that case, I didn't believe it, right?
And honestly, the way this offense is looking, it's the same thing.
Yeah, right? Like Jalen Hurts has not looked good.
The only good news is that time, everything was faltering. This time, like you just mentioned, the defense is still Super Bowl caliber.
So if 1 is complete pretenders, 10 is complete contenders, I'm going to put them down the middle. I don't know because I'll say a 4 because the offense is has been that bad. But this team, when it comes to playoff time, for the most part, outside of that year, they're losing to Tampa in the first round, have looked relatively decent. They've made two Super Bowls. Jalen Hurts performed well. I get that. But then again, they had to make an OC change after Steichen. Then they were horrible. Then they got Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore has gone a different job again, similar to Shane Steichen. And now Kevin Patullo looks horrible. If I have to, a gun to my head, I have to pick one. In that NFC, I'm putting them slight pretenders as well.
Here's the thing, and here's the difference why the Chiefs and the Eagles are different. The Chiefs, we know somehow, some way, they will just win a playoff game. That's just who they are.
Yeah.
Eagles, I'm not convinced of that. I know they went to 2 Super Bowls and they won one, but there's also 2 runs with this roster or a run here 2 years ago where it was not convincing at all and they got absolutely demolished by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first round, which we'll also get into in a little bit here. So because of that, the Chiefs have a resume in the playoffs in terms of if they make the playoffs, they're going to the AFC Championship. That's just the Eagles are not.
That's
that.
what I was saying. Like if they get in somehow, are they contenders?
The Eagles are not that. That they haven't done enough for me to prove that. And honestly, this year could change. Where if they make the playoffs this year, they can do that. But they haven't. We don't have clear-cut evidence on that, in my opinion. So that's where I'm putting him in a pretender. Because if they do make it, I could see a first-round exit because this NFC has been very, very competitive, and you could end up with a first-round matchup against the Detroit Lions. If you win a division.
Okay, so we're sticking with the pretenders theme here. I'm going to go next, sticking with the NFC, go relatively a little bit easier than yours, then I'll end off on a hard one. Personally, I am going to throw the Chicago Bears in pretender status. We talked about them last week, how good they looked. I wanted to see how they looked against the Packers. Hey, not bad. Competitive game. They were a close game at the end of the day. But the throw at the end of the game is one reason why I'm like, okay, this might be a year too early. The defense is still unhealthy, but they are getting takeaways to a certain extent. I get that. I am putting Bears in pretender status because I think it's just going to be a year too early for them right now. Come playoff time, are they going to be a hard out? 100%. But I ultimately think they're going to be like the Texans from like 2 years in a row where they look like they're going to be a good team but ultimately falter. I feel like this Bears team, I'm not going to say they get their ass kicked in the playoffs.
Well, the Texans won playoff games.
True, as well. But depending on what their matchup looks like, right now they fell from the 1st seed to the 7th seed.
Which is crazy.
Which is nuts. Yeah. So it's tight. They might ultimately miss the playoffs for all we know. But I am giving the Chicago Bears pretenders.
One thing I'm going to make clear, if you guys watched our last week video, we made a video about the Chicago Bears. In that video, we made it clear that like they are something, but they're not contenders.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day,
future-wise, they're set.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like we're not going technically being, I guess, hypocritical here.
Yeah.
Because we didn't fully crown them as contenders. We held back on that, but we did label them as impressive, a hard out, and all that stuff. So I could see a pretender show for you. I'm not going to necessarily disagree with that, but I just want to make that point clear is that we did not label them as contenders a week ago and just change and literally go back after a week loss. We just didn't. We just wanted to, we made that video saying that how impressive they have been and they deserve the love, especially after when they beat the Eagles. Then I'm going to go pick up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You can put the Carolina Panthers in there together.
Yeah, but like, okay. No,
all right, let's get the Carolina Panthers out of the way.
The Panthers are not. No, I'm not putting the Panthers in pretender because obviously we didn't expect to make a playoff spot. So I'm not putting this in this conversation.
Okay, fine.
All right.
Fine.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a clear shot at winning this division. It was clear from the beginning of the year that the NFC South is theirs. And I know that every year they do make it closer than it obviously should be. But right now, for me, this is the biggest concern possible. Because number one, there's no Mike Evans. They're just simple as that. Like that's a huge loss. Injuries in general. Getting Bucky Irving back, he has been playing pretty well. He got a touchdown in a couple of games he has played. But they're just losing football games that they should not be losing. Their defense, in my opinion, has not been playing really good to the point that Todd Bowles is yelling at them on the sideline. Losing to the Saints is just absolutely embarrassing, in my opinion. That should not be happening at all.
The Saints got 3 more wins than I thought.
You are lucky. They have 3 wins?
Yep.
Yeah. You are lucky that, actually, we have 1 win, I think. So 2 more wins than we thought, I would say. Yeah. You are lucky that you still have the chance of playing the Panthers twice. So you still have you still control your own destiny and in that point. But I know he's a rookie. I'm not gonna throw the hammer on him. But Emeka Ebukwa somehow looking like the old Roy is now looking like a bust.
Yeah, look, the other guy, on the other hand, Ted McMillan is looking like he's the old Roy favorite.
Yeah, so he kind of reversed his story. I won't say he was a bust in the beginning.
He wasn't. But like he elevated more.
I don't know what happened to Egbuka. He had a brutal drop in that Saints game.
I mean, when you happen to be the sole focus of an offense, eventually you'll get to.
He was put in a tough spot. Baker, I think, at the end of the day, you're seeing Baker battle, but overall, this team took a turn because this team started off at 3-0.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where
Baker was MVP.
Yeah, that's where it became really concerning. And I know Baker himself is playing hurt and he's like, busting his ass off, but to the point that we thought there was no concern starting off 3-0, even in the beginning of the year, that they're going to be a bona fide playoff team, bona fide 4th seed, just because
the fact that it got to the conversation now.
The fact that you have the same record as the Carolina Panthers, yeah, The reason why I'm not putting Panthers in conversation because we didn't expect the Panthers to be here.
Yeah,
right.
So which just makes them automatic
But
pretenders.
like, obviously they're not going to win the freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right. But with the Buccaneers, is that they actually started off really good, and now they're doing this. It's just very concerning, and they do it year in year out. But this year, I feel the biggest concern because of the injuries.
Okay, next up, that's a bona fide pretender for me because we'll keep the ones that are like in the middle. Towards when we start talking contenders, and we have to go to the AFC after this as well. So San Francisco 49ers, I think it's just, I don't know, it's just mainly because they have won 3 in a row. Again, relatively easy schedule for the most part.
It's the injuries, man.
It's because of the injuries.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, listen, if they're hot heading into the playoffs, these guys might get into contendership. We know that. But for now, I'm just going to put them in pretenders mainly because of the injuries that they have sustained. Obviously, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner being out for the year as well does not help them defensively as well. Happy that Christian McCaffrey's healthy. He looks good. He's playing well there. And we'll see overall what if Brock Purdy and the rest, Kyle Shanahan, could get away into the playoff spot and see what he could ultimately do when it comes to time.
Moving on to the AFC, obviously
Get the obvious one out of the way.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Look, I know I gave them credit for winning, but overall, the inconsistencies.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, was it a convincing win? Yes, because the game itself was like they showed something that they haven't showed the last few weeks. But I'm still going to question the consistency. We don't know, one, if Rodgers could do that stuff again, even though he's really battered up. And I give him credit. I give DK Metcalf credit. He played. The biggest thing here, if they could continue doing this, they might have some success. They actually threw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Right. And DK Metcalf is a good deep threat as well. And they got him involved. So if they could find a way to do that, they can sustain the success. But I don't trust them.
Here's the thing.
And I don't trust the offense. And the defense has been inconsistent.
If they match up against Denver, if they match up against Houston, if they match up against New England, their defenses have guys that could take away the ball secondary wise and could get to the quarterback.
Well, this is not just the Steelers. Nobody's fucking.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying when there are some teams like at the end of the day when some teams like Kansas City was able to beat Houston last year at the end of the day, right? Pittsburgh's not that Kansas City from last year, and obviously the overall inconsistencies on the defensive side especially is the concerning part. So to the point where yes, they're automatic pretenders to the point where like. They're 7-6 at the moment, and they had a stranglehold on the division at one point as well. But yes, big win. But overall, at the end of the day, they're still probably, in my opinion, the biggest pretender maybe after this team, the LA Chargers, and that's strictly because their O-line is injured and Justin Herbert is playing with a broken left hand. Thankfully, in which he got surgery for this week. So again, Justin Herbert's always been a tank. He's been playing. He's a warrior. He always plays through the stuff. Got a big win. Used his legs when he needed to. Obviously, you could tell that because the way he has to catch the ball from the snap, protecting the ball and all that is going to make things a little bit slower. So which is why certain timings were off. But beating that Eagles defense, I understand they were without Jalen Carter. And then you got Amari Hampton back yourself as well. And with just team playing overall well, you got a big win to the point where like, hey, even you might be like, oh yeah, this team might get into the playoffs now. Especially if they get the win over the Chiefs next week. But ultimately, no Joe Alt, no Rashawn Slater, just injuries down that O-line. The defense is good, but it's not good enough to get them to the Super Bowl type good, like how the Jacksonville Jaguars had back in 2017 or whatever.
And also,
unfortunately, Justin Herbert in the playoffs
yeah.
is a concern, and with his injuries right now, I don't expect him to all of a sudden flip it around with this current roster. So for that, they're as good as they have been, as surprising as they have been these last couple of weeks, they are still a pretender for me.
Let's move on to now
the teams that are like 50-50.
I want to get there's a lot of teams 50. I want to get the bona fide contenders out first because there's
okay. Wait, let's talk about one pretender more. Jaguars.
I'm putting them 50-50.
Oh, you're putting 50. Okay, Let's go get the bona fide ones out of the way. In the AFC, I don't think there's any bona fide ones.
Let's try to pick one.
Let's go to the NFC. Let's get the easy one out of the way.
Okay, easy one out of the way. Rams and Packers.
Rams, 100%.
Rams and Packers, I'll give them to them.
I will give the Packers, but I'm not as confident, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, 4-game win streak. Jordan Love is playing much better, and the offense is playing much better.
If there's a number 3, listen, we know the MVP race is between 2 guys.
Yeah.
But number 3 probably will be Jordan Love finishing off this year.
He's playing really good. He was the main question mark, and the offense in general, they have been producing. So as of this moment, in the last 2 games, they beat the Lions, tough game. Jordan Love balled out. They beat the Bears, tough game. Jordan Love and the offense balled out and answered back every single time the Chicago Bears scored, kind of like, destroying their comeback. But the defense has been good all year. Let's just say it. Like, other than the Cowboys game, the defense has been solid all year. But the offense was the question mark, and the offense is playing good and coming around. So, are the Rams ahead of me if I'm ranking?
Yeah, Rams are the best team in the NFL.
As simple as that.
They just had one hiccup against the Panthers.
Exactly.
But that's
100% they are. But the Packers, in my opinion, are right there, right behind them. And I'm going to give them that. They're on a 4-game win streak, so they deserve their flowers.
So that's 2 contenders, because we don't need to emphasize on the Rams too much. We've talked about them a lot the last couple of weeks as well.
Let's try to pick one in the AFC. Who would you pick?
See, that's the tough. Okay, let's break it down. Patriots, easy schedule, have an MVP candidate, but
what are they going to do in playoffs?
Exactly. The Bills, superstar superstar quarterback. He's gonna get his stuff done in the playoffs, but that defense is gonna hold them back, and we've seen them struggle at certain moments against it was a snow game, but they barely won on the weekend against the Bengals. And then when you go to the Jags, consistency at quarterback. The Texans, what is that offense gonna look like? But they have a Super Bowl level defense. The Broncos, Super Bowl level defense, offense is hit or miss at times. So if I have to ultimately pick one, I cannot go against the Denver Broncos. 10-game win streak. Yes, certain games are closer than you want them to be. 100%, I get that. But their defense is that good. And Bo Nix, yes, is a probably boring offense. He's getting plays done when they needed to be done most. And Sean Payton is, at the end of the day, is a Super Bowl winning quarterback and is in the conversation of Coach of the Year this year.
Yeah, so I agree with the Broncos. I'm going to add another team later on, but the reason why I give the Broncos edge over the Patriots, and number one,
the experience as well.
The experience.
Yeah.
And number two is, like, they have the defense on like literally immovable defense.
Yeah.
The good news for the Denver Broncos is that their offense is clutch, which is obviously what's going to be needed when it comes to
because it's going to be close games.
Yeah,
right?
It's going to be close games, and at the end of the day, the Broncos have won close games. Bo Nix has shown up when he needed to show up most. So that is, even though, again, you want to play a full 60 minutes, I get that. But when it comes to playoff time, it matters about getting stops and scoring points whenever they matter most. So it doesn't matter what you do in the first quarter. It's going to matter what you're going to do in the fourth quarter, because obviously that is at the end of the game, and people are going to look at the fourth quarter missed opportunities. That if someone loses, they'll be looking at the fourth quarter at missed opportunities, not the first quarter more so.
So we're picking, obviously, the Denver Broncos should be our representative of the AFC.
If this team does make the playoffs,
Houston,
I do expect a deep run, and that is the Houston Texans.
Yeah, see, I don't disagree with that. Like, again, I think if I'm picking the best defense in the NFL, I might be leading Houston.
It is Houston.
Right? Like, yeah, no disrespect to Seattle. They're up there. They're top 3 with the Denver Broncos as well. We've seen CJ Stroud be good in the playoffs when he needed to be, and the 2 games he did lose in the playoffs were to Patrick Mahomes, right? Both times?
And Lamar Jackson.
1
seeds.
Right? At the end of the day. So if this team were to find a way to get in the playoffs, and especially be the division win the division as well, and they're probably going to be the 3rd seed, it looks like, if that's the case. This defense helped them win a lot of games, and the offense is getting it done when it needs to get done, right? Yes, you're concerned about the O-line. It's been performing better lately. Do I want to give them contender status because of the iffiness of making the playoffs? That's the only reason why I'm giving them slight pretender. But if they are in a playoff spot and they close out this next stretch, even though easy schedule, we'll see what happens, what it looks like in the final week against the Colts overall. Yes, I agree with you that this team might be a scary team to beat in the playoffs and might ultimately be a contender, AFC contender.
Here's this thing. They held Josh Allen to under 20 points with 19.
Sacked him like 8 times.
They held the number 1 offense at that time, which was our Colts, to 16 points. And they've just held the Patrick Mahomes-led offense to 10 points. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
Especially the Patrick Mahomes at 10 points part. Nobody ever does that.
And almost every game was single-digit loss for the most part.
Exactly. So the offense has come around.
If there was a loss, sorry.
Yeah. The offense has come around. They have played better. They don't need to be the best.
Yeah.
They just need to do enough. And right now...
And we saw what they're a better version of what Jacksonville did in 2017.
Exactly. And
there's no team really contending against them like the New England Patriots did Jacksonville back then.
They have been battle tested in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Compared other than Buffalo, they're the most battle tested. Technically, the Steelers, whoever wins the AFC North as well, but they are set up realistically because there's no defense is better, and CJ Stroud is looking better. It's just simple as that.
Yeah.
That's all they need, and that's all they do. Do you score 20 points? You'll probably win the game.
Yeah, fair. So you're leaning contender if to make the playoffs.
Yes.
All right, let's go on to the ones that are now hard, and we'll go to the AFC East. Let's start off with those Buffalo Bills, because year in, year out, they should be in the playoffs. Listen, if there is a time for, we might do a coach's hot seat video next week or the week after that for our episode or whenever we do that. Sean McDermott doesn't find a way to get the playoffs or does not find a way to get to the Super Bowl, let alone the AFC Championship game even, it might be time to find a new coach. Because this is the year where it looks like Mahomes, and it might be a chance that Lamar Jackson might not make the playoffs. Yes, you'll be going against tough defenses, but you've been a playoff team year in and year out. We'll see ultimately what happens against the Patriots next week, because if you do lose that game, you're not getting the division. That's for sure. So you will be a wildcard team playing one of these teams. Ultimately, Broncos, Patriots, one of them are going to be the 1 seed for probably. Then, one of the Texans or Jags most likely. This team does not find a way to get in to the Super Bowl, at least for the minimum for me. You might need to look for a different coach, because the only kryptonite might not be in the playoffs. Simple as that. But that being said, offense, this is the opposite. It is a I can't even say Super Bowl contenders because the quarterback is, and he'll make the plays.
No. This is the issue. This is the simple issue, right? The defense is still the same, as we have seen.
Yeah.
It's how can they sustain the success? The win against the Chiefs, that can be sustainable, right? How they played that, how they performed that game, top to bottom. How they played against the Bengals is unsustainable, because you're literally asking. Christian Benford made an incredible play, and at the end of the day, Joe Burrow made a mistake. And if Joe Burrow makes a mistake, obviously the Bengals defense is like, the offense makes a mistake, the game's going to be over anyways. Joe Burrow made 2 bad mistakes, and that just flipped it out of the game. Otherwise, he looked unstoppable, and the Bengals offense looked unstoppable, and T. Higgins looked unstoppable as well. That's one issue. The other issue is this team is better at sustaining success is when Josh Allen doesn't have to be Superman. Josh Allen was Superman.
He needs to be Superman
against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
You can't, this guy, when he is Superman, is literally the best player on the planet, in my opinion, when he has those performances, because it's literally MVP type performances, player of the week type performances that he puts up. And he did that in week 1 against Baltimore, leading that comeback. He did that against the Bengals right now. That's not going to happen every week. Also, in the playoffs, you're not playing the Bengals defense. So we saw what Josh Allen did against the Houston Texans defense, and that was getting absolutely destroyed.
And listen.
So this is why it's just unsustainable, and that's why you want to put him in pretender, but you can't fully, because they have a history at being successful in the playoffs and up until they get to the Chiefs.
And Joe Burrow, to a certain extent.
Well, that one year, yeah.
The more the Chiefs.
But they have playoff wins.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if they do not win next week and they're out of and do not win the division in general, whether they win or lose next week, they have to go to maybe Denver. They obviously might have to go to Foxborough. They might have to go to Houston or Jags, whatever. The Jags is a different story. That's a Colts problem. They're 3-3 on the road right now. They're 6-1 at home. You want to be hosting games, especially if it's their final year at Orchard Park.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
100%.
So now, if I have to, gun to my head, I got to make a decision. With the respect to Josh Allen strictly, I'm like a 6 out of 10 contender. It's the best way I'm going to put it.
I would agree.
That's the only reason why. Because this defense, year in and year, have proven that they cannot get it done in the playoffs. Yes, again, kryptonite, Patrick Mahomes. But even some other games against the Colts, the Phillip Rivers year, they barely won.
It's just they're not. The defense is not good enough. It's just simple as that. That's the obvious part.
That's gonna be their biggest Achilles heel when it comes to playoff time. But I'm gonna give them slight contenders. So that being said,
the Patriots are quick. Let's be honest. Let's get this out of the way. The Patriots are quick. It's just inexperience. We don't know what this team is gonna be like when it's gonna come down to those vital, pivotal, key moments, and that's just because they're young. There's nothing against it other than that this team's future is bright. We did expect the Patriots to have a good year and make the playoffs. Both of us did, obviously not to this level, and potentially win the division
and have an MVP.
But I have a 1 seed and I have an MVP. But battle tested, that's the question mark for the New England Patriots, and that's the only question mark for the Patriots.
There are some players that are battle tested. Obviously, Stephon Diggs. You look at Milton Williams and these guys. One thing that these guys have. Josh McDaniels, we know the success he's had as an offensive coordinator in the NFL. with these very Patriots, and they have Mike Vrabel, who's probably coach of the year. And listen, did not get to the Super Bowl with the Titans, I get that, but still has that playoff experience. So these guys will be able to lead it. Do I give them more of an edge against the Bills in terms of contendership? No, I will give them very, very slight pretenders. To your point, at the end of the day, these players do need to execute for the most part. Do I believe they will? 100%, especially if they have home field.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to give them same level of contendership as the Bills, a 6 out of 10. Because we're seeing a theme here. The Patriots, it might not be as good as the Houston Texans, the Seattle Seahawks, or the Denver Broncos, but it's still damn good defense. And it's still a damn well offense that can do enough, and it showed that they've been doing enough and more than enough to win. And obviously that's a lot to do with Drake May. The issue is experience, but the good news is, like you just mentioned, they have a guy in Mike Vrabel who's won it as a player.
Yeah,
hasn't won it as a coach, but has been far as a coach. They have an offensive coordinator who has won it, as well, and they have players that they have good veteran players. It's just how can they help Drake May? The question mark is Drake May, and some other young players, but the main, like Drake May, Christian Gonzalez, you could say, because obviously it'll be his first time as well. But that question mark isn't because of ability. That question mark is experience. When it comes to experience, I'm gonna lean more so on the contender side, just because,
you know what? Yeah,
from what I'm seeing, they have shown me that I can't put them in pretender side because they have what they have shown me has been incredible.
I'm gonna say I'll put it 5 out of 10, slightly under, only because I want to see it now in the playoff type of atmosphere, because again, they had a relatively easy schedule compared to a lot of these other teams in the NFL. So we'll see what happens in the playoffs, because like you said, they're going to be probably playing a Houston defense, a Denver defense, or whatever the case might be.
That leaves
the last team,
and that's in the NFC.
No, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, I thought you got the Jaguars.
Yeah.
That leaves the second last team, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm going to stay in the middle. I'm going to say 5 out of 10 here. The reason why I'm saying 5 out of 10 is because over the recent weeks, we are seeing the offense that Liam Cohen has planned out for this offense to be. And the defense has been just nothing short of incredible as well. Another, again, not the top tier in terms of Houston, Denver, and Seattle, but certainly one below them, because they have a guy who could end the game in Josh Allen. Devin Lloyd has been absolutely incredible, and their secondary is doing enough. Greg Newsome has been a good add.
Jacoby Myers.
Obviously, that's an offense. I'm talking about defense. But offensively, Jacoby Myers has looked good and helped elevate Trevor Lawrence. And right now, Trevor Lawrence is playing good. And the one thing as much as obviously inconsistent as Trevor Lawrence has been, the one thing you can say about him is that in 2 playoff performances, he has put up 2 good performances. He's put up 2 good performances. In 2 playoff games, he put up 2 good performances. I know the first one, he did throw 4 picks in the first quarter. But overall, look at the last 3 quarters and look at the comeback he led. And again, against Kansas City, it's Kansas City. And he did, honestly, a decent enough job and had a chance of winning as well. But so I'm not saying I trust Trevor Lawrence fully. He's the main question mark. We all know that for this Jacksonville Jaguars team. But over the last couple of weeks, he has been playing better ball, and what Liam Cohen has planned this offense to be, it's looking like that. And because the main reason is because Trevor Lawrence is playing better.
I'm going to go pretenders. Not like bona fide pretenders like I'm saying Steelers and all them more, but I'm going pretenders mainly because I just think the other team's defense is going to give him trouble. Like, it's the simplest way for me to put it. Jacksonville, they've got a playoff win under their belt. They by the end of the day, concerned still, as much as I love the guy, it still comes down to Trevor Lawrence. And we've seen moments where he's going to be bad. And if they get matched up against Denver, even like let's just say Buffalo doesn't make the division, and they have to play Buffalo in the first round, I'm still going to give the edge to Buffalo. That's just me. I think those teams are going to still be slightly better when it comes to a playoff setting. That being said, am I going to be surprised if they do win the game and move on? No, but I can't agree with the 5 out of 10. I'm going to give it like a 3-4 out of 10 in terms of the pretender side of things overall. But we have 2 teams left we got to talk about.
That's 2.
The Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks. So which one do you want to start off with?
Look, I'm not going to say much about the Lions because they're not in yet. So I'm not going to
I mean, they're right there.
They are right there. Don't get me wrong. For sure, that's true. But the NFC North is tough. You got to win some big games here. You have a tough schedule. Who do we talk about?
No, never mind. Our Texans got their way in.
Yeah, Texans are in. Like at the end of the day, the Lions are not collapsing. Well, obviously, like you're like, let's make it quick. Lions, if the Lions make it, they're a contender, right?
I'm putting slight pretender.
You know,
I'm personally putting slight pretender.
The offense is good enough. The defense is playing much better, right?
Yeah.
The issue is if you're getting that off, like if the question mark's the offense, you're a contender. Because if it's a defense, then I understand because we know that's the weakness. The weakness is playing more consistent and playing more surprisingly well, right? The what is supposed to work, where the star talent is on the offense, right? And I get it, they lost last year, but the year before they made it to the NFC Championship game, which is obviously an impressive run. And I know there's gonna be a tough path. They're a 7.
I'm leaning pretender. The reason why is when you look at the games during the regular season, they haven't really beaten a really good team. They got their ass kicked by the Packers both times, in my opinion. Doesn't matter what the scoreline was. They obviously found a way to lose against the Eagles. We couldn't get the offense rolling there. Same offense.
The Lions don't play the Eagles. Okay,
that was 16.
I did mess that part up.
Yeah, the 69. They couldn't get their offense rolling in general. And if we're criticizing the Eagles to a certain extent, which rightfully so, I have to criticize this Lions team to that extent as well, especially if their offense gets.
That's why I don't want to talk about it because they're not even in the playoffs.
But here's the problem:
they're not even in a playoff spot.
Okay. But no. But here's the thing. I'm projecting. The reason why I want to talk about them, I'm projecting to make the playoffs. Regardless. That's why I brought them up.
Now who's out?
One of the Bears or the Niners. So I listen, at an 8-5 record, they're not at a freaking level as the Cowboys are where I'm talking about the Cowboys. Regardless what the situation is, they're 8-5, they're right there. Right? Because next week we could be talking about them in the playoffs and the Bears being out. So we have to talk about this Lions team. Yeah, at the end of the day, with their schedule, they play the Bears one more time, and I think they're going to win that game. But my point is, they're going to find a way to get in the playoffs, and they're in my opinion, they're going to be a pretender.
No, I can't buy that.
Because listen,
I'm not going to say it's a bona fide contender. Obviously, there's flaws on this football team.
Yeah, but can you point out a win that you're confident that they're going to do that in the playoffs?
Look, it's playoff. Like with the Lions is different, right? I'm not saying they deserve the Bills level credit or even like. I am more confident in the Lions at this moment. I am more confident in Lions getting a playoff win than the Eagles. Okay. I'm going to say that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the Eagles' offense is literally costing them. And I'm not saying the Lions have a Super Bowl, but the Lions' offense can get hot at any moment.
I get that, but
the Eagles, we can't say about the Eagles' offense.
But
again, the Eagles' offense is definitely not hot. Just say that.
The Lions lost to the Chiefs. The Lions lost to the Eagles. The Lions lost to the Packers. The Lions lost to the Packers. The Lions lost to the Vikings. They don't have a win against a really good team in the a convincing win in the NFL. They came back and beat the Giants in overtime. So whenever they played a really good defense, for the most part, they struggled. That offense struggled. And if that comes to playoff time, they choked against the Washington Commanders last year. The
Lions beat the Ravens.
That's their one bona fide win.
The Lions beat the Bears at the end of the day.
Early in the year, sure.
Doesn't matter. At the end, like I know the Bears weren't the same Bears.
But we're still putting the Bears as pretenders, regardless.
Yeah, but that doesn't change the fact it's a big win. You beat a freaking 9-4 team.
Fine. Okay, that's fair.
To the point that people have question marks that the Bears are not a full-blown lock to beating the Lions whenever they meet, I think the Week 18 matchup they have.
Lions and Packers meet in the playoffs, who are you going with?
At that moment, I'm going Packers. I label Packers as full contenders.
Lions are still at the Lions are playing the Seahawks, and we're going to talk about the Seahawks in a second here. Who are you going with?
That's a toss.
Okay, and then we obviously know you're picking the Rams.
Yeah, picking the Rams.
And you're going with the Eagles.
This is on the man,
you're going Lions over Eagles. I might go Eagles over Rams. It's Lions, sorry.
Yeah, but like this is the whole point. This is middle of the fence. The 7 is not a bona fide answer. Just 7 is just because I'm more confident in the Lions potentially than someone like the Bills.
That's fine.
Or I mean, not the Bills, the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's obviously in the middle. The Bills are obviously in a similar level as the Lions, whereas the Packers and the Rams are like literal 9-10, right? For me, the Texans and the Broncos are at 8, whereas the Lions, I'm going to say it, but they're 6-7.
Yeah.
But that's the range. Like, I am leaning more contender for the Lions than I am for the Eagles, more so than as a pretender.
Comment down below if you guys think if the Lions do get in the playoffs, are they a contender?
And the reason why it's a coin flip against Seattle is because I'm giving Seattle a 7 as well. And the main reason is Sam Darnold definitely does not make this team a bona fide contender like how we have the LA Rams. And we have seen the LA Rams demolish Sam Darnold 3 times in a row, twice last year and obviously once this year. So overall, again, Seattle Seahawks defense, absolute Super Bowl caliber. But when it comes down to it, Sam Darnold, when it comes down to the big moments, Sam Darnold has crumbled. When it comes down to being under pressure, Sam Darnold has crumbled.
So again, gun to my head, doesn't matter about the ranking of it. If I'm picking one or the other, I am leaning slight pretender in that sense because I need to see Sam Darnold win that big game. He failed the test at the early beginning of the year. The defense, outstanding. Don't get me wrong. They handle business. They're winning the games that they need to win, and they're destroying these past couple of weeks. But some of these wins have come against backup quarterbacks as well. But that being said, like it sucks that the Seahawks might not even win this division at a 10-3 record at the moment, and they're going to be a 5 seed, which means they're going to be facing the Buccaneers or the Panthers as of right now, you could say.
Which should be a win.
Which I agree with. But like overall, like this Seahawks team, will they surprise me if they get to the Super Bowl? Not necessarily, because I believe in that defense, and they just gotta hope that listen, to your point from a couple of weeks ago when they lost to the Rams, they still almost won that game with Sam Darnold playing that bad. So that's how good the Seahawks team has been. That even though if I had to pick one or the other, I'm saying pretender. But if I'm going on the ranking scale, I agree with you. They're gonna be in that 7. I'm not saying it. I'm not doing the meme.
Why are you saying pretender? If you're putting him in a 7, that's a contender. You can't if I put gun to your head, you can't say pretender and give him a 7 rating.
I'm giving him a 5. It's because I don't know what to expect from Sam Darnold come playoff time. Simple as that.
The reason why I'm leaning contender here is because of that Rams game.
Yeah.
Even when he played the most shittiest football game you could possibly think of playing and throw 4 interceptions, they still had a chance of winning. That wasn't happening with Minnesota because Minnesota's defense is not this Seattle's defense. This Seattle defense can win football games. The special teams has been really good. They've been blocking and win football games. The Seattle defense can give you points when your offense doesn't have points.
Yeah, I didn't take that into account.
This is a different...
Okay, so gone to head, I'll put them in contenders.
I would say you can't give them a 7 rating and say that they're going to be a pretender.
Fine.
That just makes no sense.
Yeah, so that being said, if I'm picking... Yeah, I mean, you're right. If I'm going Seahawks versus Lions, I will lean Seahawks, obviously. And if I'm giving Detroit Lions pretenders, which I am, I will give these guys slight contenders in that sense because their defense is that elite. To the point, if this Super Bowl matchup against the Broncos or the Texans for whatever reason, or even the Patriots... It's going to be a toss-up at the end of the day in that sense because that's how good this team is. It's just unfortunate. If they were in the AFC, they would be my team coming out of the AFC. So they would have been my favorites to come out of the AFC if this team was in the AFC overall. But it's because they're in a same conference and the same division with the Rams, which I think are at least 1 tier above them. And then obviously Packers, they're in between the two. Like they're the 3rd best team in my opinion, probably in the NFC overall. I'll change. I'll rephrase my wording and I'll give them slight contenders overall because that defense is that good. And I expect, hopefully, Sam Darnold to maybe just be 1 tick better than what he was.
It's not even just don't cost your team. That's just simple as that. Like it doesn't matter how good you have to be. Just don't put your defense in bad spots, and they'll still find a way to win football games. But overall, I'm just let's wrap it up here quickly. In a world where the last few years has been offensive teams, offensive mind, great quarterback play is going to win you the Super Bowl. And again, that's still the case. You need great quarterback play to win a Super Bowl. This year and this playoffs is kind of set around you need to have a great solid defense because a lot of these teams in here have Super Bowl caliber defenses. If you go down the list, the Texans, Broncos, Seahawks, Patriots, Eagles, Rams, Packers as well. Right, so right now we're in a season. The reason why this parity is happening is because these defensive, I won't say defensive minded, but high level defensive talented teams.
We're seeing a lot more defensive games, and then the teams that are winning that quarterback has not made those mistakes.
Yeah, and exactly that's what it is, except for Jalen Hurts.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, because it comes down to like which quarterback / offense will make the less mistakes, and whoever won't turn over the ball overall.
But that wraps up our contender, pretender, and also collapsing video as well. And comment down below where your team stands and which teams you agree with us that are contenders or pretenders or are gonna collapse. And overall, that's honestly like our start of our playoff outlook for the next coming weeks, because there's only 4 weeks left.
4 weeks left. Get us to 100 subscribers. We want to get that to the end of the year. Comment down below, like this video, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.